When you study grammar, you need to be careful, because you may actually not be learning English. Instead, you could be learning how to do grammar exercises. Seriously, what's the point in that? Now, am I saying that studying grammar is pointless? No, I'm not. For some English learners, breaking down the language into little parts and then trying to figure out how they fit together can be really helpful. But if you are going to study grammar, then make sure you're doing it the right way. Let's talk. Often, studying grammar means focusing on individual sentences separated from a wider context. The job of the student, then, is to focus on these sentences and manipulate them in a certain way. Let me show you exactly what I'm talking about.
Here is an example I have taken from a B2 level textbook. The topic is the present simple versus the present continuous. This exercise seems simple, right? But it's not really, because we only have a sentence of context. Because we only have one sentence for context, we can actually have more than one possible answer. We just don't have the context to make the judgment, and so we are forced to try to think about what the authors of the book wanted us to say, rather than what the intention of the speaker is.
And this is the problem. Sentence-level grammar exercises, like this one, lack context. And yes, okay, this exercise was designed for a classroom. And you'll notice that the exercise tells students to discuss why they made their decision. And this could perhaps introduce some imaginary context to each example. But if you're studying alone, then this exercise is not very helpful. And if you don't have a teacher to help and explain why you've chosen one option over another, then also this exercise isn't very helpful. Now, let's take this a step further. Remember, this exercise is from a B2 First coursebook. It exists to prepare students for a very specific exam. Look again at question 1. While the present simple could be correct, the authors of the book want the students to choose the present continuous with always. Why? Well, because this is a new use of the present continuous that B1 students are generally unfamiliar with.
Why?
Well, because you cannot find it in B1 syllabi. Why? Because Cambridge decided that this structure is not appropriate for B1.
Why?
Because reasons, okay? Shut up. Because of all this, the book is trying to help you. It's trying to raise your awareness of a grammar structure that you did not know when you were studying for the B1 and that you need to know if you're gonna take the B2. But remember, this is based around learning to prepare for an exam, not learning to communicate. Here, you're not learning always plus the present continuous to express your annoyance at something because you are annoyed at something and your teacher wants to help you and give you the tools to express that idea. No, you're learning it arbitrarily because the authors of the book decided that you should learn that at this point because that would help you prepare for an exam. And yeah, if you are preparing for an exam, then this is super useful and thank you so much because you're going to help me get the marks that I want. But if you're not, then it's just kind of confusing because in this exercise, the present simple would be absolutely fine. So why are you correcting a mistake that doesn't exist? Oh gosh. But guys, it gets worse. It gets far, far worse. I'm about to show you some exercises on the future that I found in one of my students' books for school. And oh my god, it gives me nightmares. This thing makes me want to vomit, eat my vomit, and then vomit again all over the book because it is so horrendous.
Oh my gosh, these are absolutely revolting. Try and do these exercises now. Ugh. Yeah, pause the video here until you're finished. Good luck.
So, let's look at number 1. Which did you choose? Well, it could be all of them, so that's good, isn't it? great exercise. Honestly, as a native speaker, I would say all of them would be equally valid, and using any of them would not create any communication issues at all. So, yeah. The authors want the students to choose leaves. You know, the present simple for a future timetabled action. You can learn all about that here. However, just because we can use the present simple for a future timetabled action doesn't negate all of the other options we have available to us. And so all this exercise does is confuse you. Yeah. The same applies to question 2. Obviously, we cannot use the present simple here, but I see no reason for not using will. The grammar section of the book tells us that we use will for predictions based on belief. But if you've seen my video on will right here, you know that there are many, many uses of will, and one of them could be applicable right here. And in any case, how do we know that this is not a prediction based on belief? Because we've only got a sentence to work with. We don't even have the context here to make that judgment. And of course, the same applies to question 3. Every option is fine apart from the present simple. However, the book would like you to choose the present continuous, because according to the book, we use the present continuous for plans in the near future. Then the authors would like you to use going to, because we use going to express a future intention. However, we simply do not have the context because all we have to work with is one sentence. In fact, the speaker could be talking about a decision made in the present, in which case will would be preferable. And this is the problem. Such a mechanistic approach to grammar leads some students to believe that some answers are right and some answers are wrong, which simply is not the case. It all depends on context, and these exercises cannot give you any. That's not what they were designed to do, and as a result, they can just create more confusion. Let's look at one last example.
Here is question 5. Now, what did you choose? Right, okay, so let's try and add some context. Let us imagine a child is reading a story in a classroom. The teacher wants to check that the child has understood or remembers the story correctly. What form would the teacher use? Well, here the teacher would use the present simple. Now let us imagine siblings are discussing who should break some bad news to their mother. In this situation, we could use the present continuous. It's less forceful and more neutral than the going to future in this context. Similar to the future continuous. You can learn all about that video right here. Click in the top right hand corner. Also, the present continuous does not exclude the speaker from the possible bad news tellers, so it's a more egalitarian approach to solving a problem, I guess. The going to future, on the other hand, is a bit more assertive, and this is the one that the book wanted you to choose, because it's intention. The going to future also implicitly suggests that the speaker is not going to tell mum the bad news, so it puts the speaker in a leadership position. This is really complicated and situational stuff, and the book completely ignores it. Now, this would not be a problem normally if you were able to discuss this in class. However, you find these exercises at the end of a chapter in the review section. This is basically an end-of-unit test, which gives a right or wrong answer, and this is completely inappropriate for the future. So, yeah, whatever you said for this exercise, you were correct, so well done, I guess.
Basically, all possibilities are correct, and so for you to do this exercise correctly, you're not focusing on the context of the speaker because you haven't really been given any. Instead, you're focusing on the context in which you found this exercise, which involved you entering the head of the author of the book and thinking, what would the author of the book want me to say, and how do I say it so I can get high marks in this stupid exercise that only exists to drill my grammar. So, what should you do instead? Well, focus on texts, not isolated and artificially created sentences. And when I say texts, I don't necessarily mean long written texts. They could be oral texts, it could be a podcast, it could be a song, it could be a video that you like, a TV series, or this fantastic video. Yeah. And then focus on a structure. Find a structure that interests you and ask yourself, why did the speaker or the writer or the singer say this way? Why did they choose to use the future continuous here instead of using going to? What was the intention? What does it change? And then maybe going into a grammar book could help you. This way, your focus is on meaning and not form. Right? But yeah, let me know what you think, because I imagine that if you went to school, or if you still do go to school, that the grammar exercises you're given in your English classes are a lot like these ones. I see these all the time. They drive me crazy, but some people quite like them. If you disagree, let me know. And with that, we are finished. If you liked the video, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, leave a comment down below. My name is Toby, and this was Smash English.